Have you ever come across an apartment listing that seems extremely low for the size and location of the unit? It seems like such a steal, and you can't even believe that it's been on the market for more than one day. Here's a listing that's on the market right now in New York City's Lower East Side. One-bedroom apartment at 53 Stanton Street for $399,000 with a monthly maintenance of $278. What? That's crazy. That's a steal. Jump on it. With 20% down on this unit, your total monthly expenses, including mortgage and maintenance, would be under $1,600. That's cheaper than anything you could rent in that neighborhood. But let's read on. After some gauzy descriptions about wonderful renovations and the incredible light through the southern-facing windows, the listing agent for this unit gets down to brass tacks in the last paragraph. And I quote, 53 Stanton is a well-run HDFC co-op with a live-in super. Income for one or two is $40,176, or three or more is $46,842. So this is a unit in an HDFC building. They are harder to find, and purchasing one does come with a lot of caveats. But if you can find one, you could end up with a great apartment in a great neighborhood for well below market rates. In this video, I'll explain what an HDFC is and how you can get one. Okay, so today you're going to learn everything you need to know about HDFC co-ops in New York City. But before we get started, please do me a favor and press that subscribe button right down there. I'm a real estate agent in New York City and I'm putting out new content all the time. I don't want you guys to miss anything. Press the subscribe button, like this video, and if you have a comment or question, post it below. I'm happy to answer it. HDFC co-ops were created in the 1970s when the city seized thousands of derelict, burned-out buildings and converted them to affordable housing for low and middle-income New Yorkers. These buildings can also be referred to as restricted sale buildings. The 70s were a time of great socioeconomic upheaval in the city. There had been a rash of foreclosures, creating thousands of burned-out and abandoned buildings, and the city itself was on the brink of bankruptcy. A mass exodus of residents to the suburbs threatened to erode the city's tax base and bring a great city to its knees. The city hatched a plan to create the HDFC, which would rehabilitate all these abandoned buildings, convert them into co-ops, and sell them back to New Yorkers for extremely low prices. The original HDFC units were sold to New Yorkers for $250 each. To maintain these buildings as a source of affordable home ownership, the city created a set of operational rules governing their use, which is still enforced today. These include income caps for buyers, price caps for sellers, and generous tax breaks to keep the maintenance costs low. So the question is, how does all this history affect your search for affordable housing in New York City today? HDFC buildings are still governed by the same rules that were in place when they were created. Buyers must qualify by meeting strict income requirements that are tied to New York City's area median income. All HDFCs have different income requirements, but a requirement that a buyer can't exceed 120% of the AMI is typical. AMI is determined each year by HUD. But for 2020, 120% of AMI for a single person was $95,520, and for a family of four, it was $136,400. I'm going to post a link below with more information about AMI. Now, if your income qualifies to purchase an HDFC building, the next hurdle you're going to need to pass is cash on hand. Most HDFC buildings require a significant down payment. You can expect to need to put at least 20% down, and that requirement rises to requiring all cash purchases. This is one of the paradoxes of HDFC buildings and one of the reasons they get a lot of criticism. They were created to make housing affordable for low and middle income New Yorkers, but these types of customers do not typically have access to the amount of cash required to make the down payments. Typical HDFC buyers will not have large salaries, but will have access to cash. This can include retirees, young people with parents to help them out, or people that have a trust fund or an inheritance that they can lean on. Financing can also be very difficult as banks are hesitant to loan to a co-op that can't be sold for market value. Often HDFC units end up getting sold in all cash deals because these are the only buyers that can easily raise the funds. There are rules to selling an HDFC, and you should know about them before you consider buying one. To maintain affordability, the city imposed price caps on resales as well as flip taxes. The price caps are determined by a standard formula tied to the AMI, but the flip taxes vary by building. While most HDFCs have a flip tax of less than 5%, that number can rise as high as 30%. The money from the flip tax goes back into the building's coffers and can be used for things like taxes, insurance, upgrades, and repairs. While the city created a set of rules governing the HDFC co-ops, the buildings themselves are largely unregulated. It has been left to the individual co-op boards to enforce the rules on buyer qualifications and resale prices. Sometimes these rules don't get enforced very well, and you can come across an HDFC unit that's being sold very near its market value. Because of the low maintenance costs, most HDFC condo boards run on a pretty lean budget. The buildings might not be maintained as well as their full-priced neighbors. HDFC unit owners have a pretty DIY attitude, and everybody's expected to pitch in, put in some elbow grease, and help maintain the building. So, is an HDFC unit right for you? Well, if you meet the income requirements, are willing to put in the extra work to find and purchase one of these units, and are interested in being part of a tight-knit community that upholds the tradition of affordable housing in New York City, these co-ops could be a great way to become a homeowner at well below market rates. Happy hunting.